Hi, Steve here with my weekly diet update.
Okay, the last time I checked my weight and body fat, it was before Christmas. I weighed 243, which is a little bit more than last time, but I had all my work clothes on and all my stuff in my pocket, so I'm not really worried about that. I'm still 22% body fat.
Hoping I can get down to 18% in a few months. I assume after my vacation and Christmas and New Year's, I'm probably gonna gain a few pounds. And I haven't been making it to the gym much when I'm on vacation. It's really hard for me to get to the gym when I'm not on my routine. I'm home with the babies and the wife all the time and doing errands and chores. Okay, so this week I will be sharing some of my Christmas gifts, my dorky Christmas gifts. And then I'm going to talk about some of the games I played this year, some of the games I've beaten this year. And then I'm going to talk about my dorky goals for next year, for 2018, the games I want to play and whatnot. Oh, before that, I want to share some of these Star Wars toys I picked up at the dollar store. They are the die-cast Hot Wheels Star Wars toys. I picked them up because they were $1 and they had a bunch of the ships I liked. My wife says, "Why do you want to buy that stuff? You're already talking about you don't have enough room for stuff and you don't want to just buy stuff just for having it." But I couldn't pass these up, and I'm glad I got all of these because when I went back the next day they were all gone. And they were only $1. I usually don't buy toys or anything, and my daughters are not really into Star Wars yet. Anyway, so I picked up these Star Wars Hot Wheels. I got a Y-Wing here. I got an X-Wing, a black one. I got a Star Destroyer. Oh, First Order Star Destroyer. I thought it was Imperial Star Destroyer. Whatever. I got Millennium Falcon. And then I got the Slave One, Little Mr. Boba Fett's ship. And then a TIE Fighter. So I might hang on to these and sell them or give them to my daughters when they're interested. I just thought $1 a piece was not bad. Okay, now my Christmas gifts. I'll share some of the stuff my wife got. I got all this stuff for my wife for Christmas. Some dorky DVDs and Blu-rays. I got her Wonder Woman, the new Wonder Woman movie she likes. I enjoyed it. I got her Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla, Godzilla 2000, Godzilla vs. Megaguirus, and Godzilla Tokyo USS. So now she has every Godzilla movie in her collection except for I think it's called Destroy All Monsters. I think it was from the 60s or the early 70s, and the original Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla. And I don't know why Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla is so hard to find. And if you try to buy it on the internet, it's really expensive. So I don't know what's up with that. I do have the VHS of it, but now she has every Godzilla movie but 2. And then I usually don't spend a lot of money on DVDs. I just try to find the cheapest DVDs out there. I usually don't spend more than $5 an outing. But I had some gift certificates, so I really splurged over Christmas break on these DVDs and Blu-rays. I figured I would never buy these with my money, so I had gift cards, so I thought I'd go crazy. A movie I've been looking for a while, Streets of Fire. This is a pretty fun action movie from the 80s, kind of a musical type action movie. And it really reminds me of Final Fight and maybe Streets of Rage, the video game. I think probably those games were inspired by this movie. And then I got the classic Ben-Hur. I've been wanting that movie, but I don't want to spend that much money. This one was $9, so I thought it wasn't bad, and it's a collector's edition, 5 discs. Oh, and I finally got the Back to the Future trilogy on Blu-ray. I had never had this on DVD or Blu-ray. I have it on VHS, and then I have a torrent I downloaded of it that's on my PS3 that I could watch all the time of the first movie, but I didn't have the whole trilogy, and this is one of my favorite trilogies of all time. Back to the Future is within my top 5 non-James Bond movies of all time. I really love Back to the Future. I can watch it over and over and over, never get sick of it. Anytime it's playing at the local theater downtown, I'll go watch it. Yeah, Back to the Future 2, I love that movie. I don't really know that one line for line, but every time I watch it, my eyes are just glued to the screen. And Back to the Future 3, I enjoy that one as well. I actually have a friend from work that was an extra in Back to the Future 3. And he has a lot of fun little stories from behind the scenes on that movie. Yeah, Back to the Future trilogy. This is something, it was $30. I was never going to spend that much money on movies, but because I had that gift card, I figured here's my chance to get Back to the Future trilogy. Here's one of my favorite movies as a kid, The Explorers. 3 little kids build a spaceship and go visit aliens up in space. It's directed by Joe Dante. He's one of my favorite directors. To me, this was my Goonies. I was never really into Goonies. I enjoyed it, and but this was my movie I liked, adventure with little kids. Anyway, Explorers, so I finally got that. Here's a really weird movie, City of the Lost Children. It's a really strange French movie. This director, he's made a lot of these weird movies. I can't think of his name right now. This thing is really bizarre visually, and all the themes are weird. It kind of reminds me of BioShock, but I saw this way before I played BioShock. And BioShock looks like it was inspired by a lot of the imagery in this movie. It's not the same plot. It might have some of the same themes as BioShock, but it's nowhere near the same plot. It's just a really weird movie. Kind of steampunky. Kind of reminds me of something like Terry Gilliam-ish, but more French. I can't explain it. And then Krull. I didn't have Krull, this 80s fantasy movie. It's not really one of my favorites, but they had the 3 for $10 and I couldn't find anything else. And yeah, so I got Krull here. And then Tom Cruise in Legend. Oh, and I guess Ridley Scott directed this. I did not realize that. Yeah, but this movie is kind of slow to me, but man, it is visually beautiful. This is how like a fantasy movie should look. Yeah, that big devil guy, I think it was Tim Curry in here. That was just so visually striking back then. It probably still is. Like I said, I think it's really slow and it's kind of... But man, just visually, this movie is very beautiful. Oh, and then for Christmas, my mom surprised me with something I wasn't expecting. She got me this little AtGames Ultimate Sega Genesis collection, this portable Sega Genesis. And I gotta tell you, I hear a lot of bad stuff about the AtGames, but I really like this thing. When I first picked it up, it looked really cheap. It looks like one of those dollar calculators, and it's about as heavy as a dollar solar-powered calculator from the dollar store. But the buttons on the controller feel really good, and the D-pad feels really good, and the picture to me looks really good, and I don't notice any delay on it or anything. The sound might be a little off, but it's nowhere near as bad as the console version of this AtGames. And I notice if I put headphones in, the music sounds a lot better. The AtGames, the console version of it, one of the tracks in the music or the sound sounds like it's off key and it just sounds really horrible. This thing's nowhere near as bad, and like I say, if you put the headphones in, it sounds pretty good. Like I don't really notice much difference. I've been playing this a lot. I've been practicing Golden Axe on this. Yeah, I know you can't tell on the camera, but it looks pretty good. And the battery lasts forever. I played it for about 5 to 10 hours. I lost track of time. Another great thing about it is it has an SD card slot. You can add ROMs to a folder and play games that are not on here. It has 30 games built in. Some of them are little BS games that were not Sega Genesis games, but I'd say there's a good solid 20 Sega Genesis games already built into it. But you can also add ROMs to a folder and stick it in the SD slot. Put more Sega Genesis games on there, so I can't complain about that. You could get an adapter for audio, video out. Yeah, right here. And hook it up to the TV and play it on the television set. So this is something I was not expecting, but I'm very grateful to my mom for buying me this for Christmas. I've been playing a lot of Golden Axe on this, practicing, and that gets me into my next subject, the Winter Backlog Challenge. I've been working on Golden Axe. I got a little sidetracked with Streets of Rage 2, but now I'm back onto the Winter Backlog Challenge. I can get to the final boss now in Golden Axe. I could not beat the second level on that thing. I finally think I have the timing down. I think I figured out how the game works. I thought I beat the game because I beat Death Adder. Yeah, I already got one of my games down for the Winter Backlog Challenge, but then it goes on to do another couple levels after that. And then you fight another guy at the end, and I cannot beat him. He has these two little skeletons fighting you at the same time as him, and I lost all of my continues on him. Yeah, I think I'm really close to beating it, though, and that's something I've always wanted to do, is beat Golden Axe, because I've always liked it. I like the way it sounds, I like the way it looks. I like that weird old Conan-style fantasy. And then every time you walk by it at the arcade back in the day, it had a really distinct sound, distinct music. I really liked that. It gave me a warm feeling inside. And then I've been playing a little bit of Shenmue, getting off to a really slow start with that. Shenmue 2. Yeah, really relaxing game, though. It just the same as the first game. It's a little bit more overwhelming. It's a lot bigger city to explore and all that. The other one I've been working on is Phantasy Star 2. I've just been doing a lot of grinding. I've probably been playing that for about 5 hours now, just grinding my 2 characters up. I was grinding up 2 characters for a few hours, and I didn't realize you could go into town and pick up a 3rd character. So I'm just now doing that. So I have to go get that guy caught up with the other ones now. I wish I would have known about that sooner. And of course I haven't started Phantasy Star 4 or Vanquish yet. But anyway, I'm getting close with Golden Axe, and I still have a long way to go with Shenmue and Phantasy Star 2. Oh, speaking of the Backlog Challenge, Alex is putting on this Winter Backlog Challenge. I think it's the last time he's going to do something like this. So I'm hoping he can get more people involved with this. The prize is a Japanese Sega Saturn that's been modded to play games from any region, and it can play burn games. It has a brand new laser reader in there. I think that's something a lot of people would like, and you're not really losing out on anything if you just try to beat 5 games in your backlog that are published by Sega. That's all you have to do, and show proof of it. And then from what I hear, he's going to throw in some burned games of your choice on CD. Yeah, so all you have to do is complete 5 Sega games in your backlog. One of them has to be an RPG. Not really losing out on anything to join. You have a chance to win a Sega Saturn. And I was never into Sega Saturn. I hate it. It probably offends people, but I always thought it was a piece of junk. Like, nobody wanted a Saturn back then. It was all PlayStation 2 or a Nintendo 64. And then I hear all of this, the 2D fighting games are so much better on Sega Saturn. And oh my god, Resident Evil is so much better on Sega Saturn because it's Sega Saturn. Even though the PlayStation version is better in every way, it's not on Sega Saturn, so it's better by default because everything is better on Sega Saturn. No, I still wouldn't mind having one, but anyway, so I want to kind of reflect on 2017 and share all the games I enjoyed. 2017 is when I kind of got back into games. I hadn't played games a lot for the last couple of years. I was busy with work and my kids, and I was trying to make an animated movie. But I kind of got back into games this year, and I've been more active with the YouTube retro gaming community. I made a lot of new friends, just gaming in general on YouTube. Anyway, so that's kind of got me back into video games, and I want to share some of my favorite games I completed in 2017. Some of my favorite games I beat in 2017. The first one was very early in 2017. I completed Resident Evil 6. I bought it when it first came out, but I kind of lost interest with it. I only beat Leon's campaign. The beginning of this year, I went through and I beat Chris's campaign, Jake's, and Ada's. So I completed this game, and I gotta tell you, I liked it. I even liked the Jake's campaign and Chris's campaign. I don't mind all the action. It seems like that was kind of a natural progression of Resident Evil. It kind of started off slow, and it gets more and more action-packed, faster-paced games as they go on. So I really didn't mind this. My only gripe about this is the control. I'm not saying the control is bad. It's really good, but I would prefer that tank control that you had in Resident Evil 4 and 5. That's a silly criticism of the game, but I wish it had that. I wish it at least had an option for that. But anyway, this is a pretty satisfying game to beat. Another little tiny complaint I have with it is it gets kind of too easy in some spots because your AI partner is kind of overpowered and you don't even really need to do anything on these bosses. Your partner will just kill the bosses for you if you wait long enough. A couple times I ran out of ammo and then all of a sudden the boss is dead because my partner had a bunch of ammo. Anyway, but fun game. I'm glad I played it. And then early on this year, I finally beat Ninja Gaiden. And this is a game I've had forever. I was never any good at it. I remember my friends were pretty good at it, and I didn't even want to try back when I was a kid. I just watched my friends play it because I just got my butt kicked on it. But I decided I wanted to step it up and try to beat an actual hard game this year. And it was hard. The first time I beat it, I was really surprised. I got to the boss and I thought, oh man, I'm never going to beat this boss. He has 3 phases. I figured, man, I'll play this game every day for months and months and months and never beat this boss. That's what I thought in my mind, but eventually I beat the boss. Of course, the last boss, if you die on him, it sends you back to the beginning of the world. But I finally got the pattern down and I could beat the boss. And that was the hardest part. And I liked the game so much. I liked the fast pace of the game so much. I went back and tried to do a no-death run. And I actually did. And I actually recorded one. Yeah, but once I knew where everything was and I knew the pattern, I beat this one time with no deaths. This game's way ahead of its time too. I remember back then those little cartoons after every level. This just blew my mind. The little animations between the levels. Okay, this is an honorable mention. I didn't beat this game, but I really enjoyed the demo. I played the heck out of the demo. Trying to find little secrets and Easter eggs in the demo. It was so eerie. I never actually played the real game, but I played the demo so much and I was so hyped up for this game. But then it came out and I had other stuff going on, so I didn't play it. But I have it now. So this will be one I'm going to play in 2018. Okay, this is the first Japanese role-playing game I've ever beaten. Final Fantasy XII for PlayStation 2. I beat that. I beat this game this year for the Summer Backlog Challenge. This is the only game I completed for the Summer Backlog Challenge. Man, I really had a good time with this game. This game is both relaxing and challenging at the same time. Great music. The story is pretty good. It's kind of hard to follow. There are a lot of characters. It's hard to follow all the characters and all the factions and everything in this. But overall, you can kind of get an idea what the story is. And the last boss is pretty epic. Pretty easy, though. Yeah, I can see what I was missing out on. I never played any Final Fantasy games. I would just watch my friends play them because I thought they looked boring to play. But I liked the music and everything and the graphics and everything, so I've always been sort of interested, but I never played one until this, and this was my first one and I enjoyed it, so now I kind of want to go back and play more of them. The battle system in here is, I think, why I really liked it. It felt more engaging than all this turn battle stuff and random encounters. The monsters on the field, you see them, you can run up to them and fight them in real time. You can position your character wherever you want. Yet you can still kind of play it like a turn based, because anytime you can pause it and select your actions and select what your party members have to do and all that. Anyway, so Final Fantasy XII, love that. Skyrim, I finally beat that game this year for the Fall Backlog Challenge. Really enjoyed it. I couldn't stand this game at first, but after playing through it, I really enjoyed it. I think the more time you put into the game, the more you respect it, and the more you enjoy it, even if it's a bad game. I'm not saying this is a bad game. This is a really great game, but it was hard for me to get into it. Oblivion was my favorite of all time. This one, I don't know why I couldn't get into it. But after beating it, it was really enjoyable. I wouldn't even mind getting this again if I ever get a Switch and play it portably. Yeah, so Skyrim. And this is the last game I beat for my Fall Backlog Challenge, GoldenEye Reloaded. I mean, yeah, visually, this game is really beautiful for an older game. Of course, I'm a huge Bond fan, so I'm kind of biased to James Bond related stuff. This is like a remake of GoldenEye 64, but it's been modernized. It kind of has the same feel. It feels really Bondian, and it has this musical score by David Arnold, and he's probably one of my favorite James Bond movie music composers. I don't like him nowhere near as much as John Barry, but man, he does really good music for the James Bond movies. He really gives it the James Bond feel. I wasn't too crazy about the music in the last couple James Bond movies, but anytime David Arnold was on a movie, it just made it feel so much more Bondy, and I can't put my finger on it, but he's back to do the soundtrack for GoldenEye Reloaded, and that was one of the highlights of the game. The graphics were great. It's really fast-paced. You're popping off enemies all over the place. A little bit of stealth, mostly just guns blazing action. At one point in this game, I got furious. I was about to give up on the Backlog Challenge. It was almost to the deadline of the Backlog Challenge. I got to the end of this. I thought I put it on Agent, but I must have had it on Easy, on Operative. I don't ever remember putting it on Easy, but maybe because I died so much at the end. I thought I had it on Agent, but it was a pretty easy game up until the end. There's this one part at the end where you're on this catwalk. And if you play the game, you know what I'm talking about. And it was just so infuriating. It was just so random and infuriating, and I kept dying over and over. I was furious. I was about to give up on it. But then after that, I got past that part by luck, and then the final boss was pretty easy. Yeah, GoldenEye Reloaded 007. Okay, and this was one of my favorite games I played this year. And my wife got it for me a couple years ago. I didn't play it until now. Another game I played for the Fall Backlog Challenge, Evil Within. Yeah, this has got to be one of my favorite games now. Of course, Resident Evil 4 will always be my favorite game of all time. This really feels like Resident Evil 4. It feels like a lot of my favorite things from survival horror games. It has a lot of Resident Evil 1 in here, and it has a lot of Resident Evil 4. It even has a lot of Silent Hill in here. It has a Silent Hill feel. So it's kind of just like a big cluster of all of my favorite horror games. And it's probably a lot better on the newer systems. I was playing this on PS3, and it really seemed like it was struggling with this game. Didn't really take away from the game, but I could tell it was really struggling trying to run this game. Okay, that's it for my favorite games that I played in 2017. As you see, I didn't play any new games. I was more about trying to catch up on my older games. But in 2018, I have plans to complete a lot more games if I have time. I don't want to put this first and foremost. I have more important things in life to deal with, but when I get free time, this is definitely what I want to do. I still want to make these videos. The reason why I made these videos is to keep me motivated to stay on my diet. And I think I'm kind of drifting away from that, and I'm being more of a video game guy. But still, it's giving me motivation to keep up with my diet. So I'm going to keep doing them. I'm planning to stick to my diet. I want to get down to under 18% body fat, or 200 pounds. The lighter I get and the less body fat I have, the better I feel, the more energy I have. But then, of course, I'm going to have my dorky goals too for 2018. So I have a list of games I want to beat in 2018. Maybe next year I'll see if I can't come anywhere close to this, but as of now, these are the games I'm planning on beating for 2018. And then I want to read some books too. I haven't read any books in a while. It's been like a year since I've read a book. I want to try to read through all the James Bond novels by Ian Fleming. I've only read through Casino Royale, Live and Let Die, and Goldfinger. The next one is Moonraker, and I definitely want to read this in 2018, maybe even Diamonds Are Forever. I'd like to read 2 of them, but with all these games I'm playing, I don't know if I'll do it. So I want to read Moonraker. I already read the novelization of the movie that came out in the late 70s, but I've never read the actual Ian Fleming novel, which is nothing like the movie. And then I kind of want to complete my animated movie in 2018. I've been working on that for 5 years now. I was hitting that solid. I did not play any games for about 3 or 4 years because all of my video game time I put into making my animated movie. And I put so much work into that, and I really want to complete it. I don't want to give up on it. I'm starting to lose the passion for it, or I was starting to lose the passion for it. But I think now that I've been playing more video games, I'm getting more inspiration to be creative and finish my animated movie. As for the games in 2018 I want to complete, I'm planning on completing my Winter Backlog Challenge games, of course. So I want to beat Golden Axe for once. I've always wanted to beat that game, but I never could. But I think I'm getting really close, so I really want to beat Golden Axe. I want to beat Shenmue 2, not just for the Winter Backlog Challenge, but I love Shenmue 1 so much. It's kind of a shame I've never beaten Shenmue 2. And I want to beat it before Shenmue 3 comes out, and I have that pre-ordered on the Kickstarter deal. So I really want to beat Shenmue 2 before that comes out. And then, of course, Phantasy Star 2. That'll be the first turn-based role-playing game I'll ever beat if I do that. And I'm kind of enjoying it. And then Phantasy Star 4, of course, for my Backlog Challenge. And then, of course, Vanquish for my Backlog Challenge. Not only that, but I have a lot of newer games that I've gotten for Christmas that I want to beat. My wife got me Evil Within 2. I forgot to show that in my Christmas gifts. My wife got me Evil Within 2, so I want to beat that. I definitely want to beat Resident Evil 7. I want to beat Breath of the Wild. I played a little bit of it, maybe a few hours, maybe 5 hours with a friend of mine. My best friend and I were playing it, and he's actually beaten it, but I haven't really touched it much. I really want to beat Breath of the Wild, but I'm just kind of afraid to get into it because I know it'll just consume my life. And then I want to beat Final Fantasy 15. And then on my NES Classic, there are a few games I want to beat on that. I want to beat Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past. I've never played that game. That's a disgrace, I guess. And I kind of want to play through one of the Final Fantasies. Oh, I think there's only one on there. Final Fantasy 3 and Secret of Mana. And maybe that Mario RPG because I hear it's easy. So those are my video game goals and my dorky goals for 2018. I'd be curious to hear what other people have to say about that. So let me know. I love talking about stuff like that. Yeah, so 2017 was pretty good to me as far as video games. Like I said, I beat 7 games this year at least, and I haven't beaten that many games in the past 3 or 4 years before that combined. Anyway, so that's about it for this week. Thanks for stopping by. I'll see you next week with my diet update. Bye.